Joining me today is Joe Kenney, who's running for the New Hampshire Executive Council in District 1. So Joe, District 1, as we talked about when we were talking about roads, is the biggest geographic district in the state. It's 2/3 of the state. It could be a state of itself, I suppose. How do you manage to keep up with all the local issues? And I guess the other thing is, what do you see as sort of the key local issues that, the opioid crisis, I think, is sort of a statewide issue, but there's got to be some local issues that are, either Coos or Carroll or part of Grafton or even part of Merrimack County or Sullivan that, are more specific to a region, not the entire state.
Well, when I look at healthcare, for instance, I have numerous hospitals in my district, from the Upper Connecticut Valley all the way down to Alice Pecté. And so one of the things is, what has been the impact of Medicaid expansion? And so when I talk to the CEOs of various hospitals, their costs in the emergency rooms have gone down, but other debt has gone up because it's not complete coverage that they're receiving, depending on the ailment of the individual. So from a hospital and healthcare standpoint, we'll have to see it's going to take about 5 or 7 years to see what has been the shift in cost. Have we been able to make people healthier? Have we been able to reduce healthcare costs through Medicaid expansion? And ultimately, that's going to take time to collect that data. So that's really a localized concern throughout the region, if you will. The other concern that I see really has to do with our community college system, is that the next crisis on the horizon is a lack of workforce. And so we are the second oldest or the third oldest state.
The graying of the state.
The graying of the state. And so we need to build capacity within our community college system, new kind of training programs, more ways of encouraging students to go to community college and maybe to get into the workforce earlier. Right now, 95% of the kids that go to community colleges are New Hampshire residents. Our 4-year programs, a lot of those students are from out of state. We desperately need a workforce in the future to support our manufacturing sector and to support travel and tourism. The manufacturing sector last week just kicked off New Hampshire Manufacturing Week, and talking to a lot of the CEOs and owners of manufacturing companies, that was their biggest concern, was having a trained, skilled workforce for the future. So we in New Hampshire have got to do better and more of it in the future when it comes to our community college system in providing that skilled workforce for the future. So that is a major concern that is right on the horizon.
How many community colleges are there in District 1?
In my district, we have the Mount Washington, Community College. We have the Lakes region. We have one here in Claremont. We probably, in my district, have probably about five of them.
And what would come before the Executive Council that you'd either be able to use the bully put or the contract to influence that?
I think we would look at just additional funding for different programs. Like, for instance, if we needed a welding program, or if we needed...
So the contracts, if you're partnering with other companies?
Right, exactly. For instance, there is at the White Mountain Community College, I got it right, they are looking at expanding it at the old Hitchner plant up in Littleton, which that would create a good arrangement up there that would, really create a lot more opportunities for students to get trained locally and get certain job skills there right within the region. So that's something that we can help through the grant process, through the Business Finance Authority, through the CDFA, which is a Community Development Finance Authority, looking for buckets of money to support the expansion of that community college system up north.
And so that education of the young people that are from the state are going to stay in the state is one of the critical issues. What's the other one?
Well, number one is always the drug issue these days. Number two is workforce development. Number three is to continue, job growth. We have an unemployment rate is right about 3% statewide, But with that, comes issues. How many signs have we gone by recently where we said, help wanted? So we need to continue to grow, our jobs, but at the same time, we need to backfill them with good employees. The other issue I see is really energy. We need to continue to figure out ways to lower our energy costs here in New Hampshire. And the new governor is going to have to come in and have a comprehensive energy strategy that's going to support manufacturing and support, basically small businesses, because when you have the high cost of healthcare, the high price of energy, it's a disincentive for businesses to want to move to our state.
So it's going to be a critical issue.
Absolutely.
Well, we're out of time on that. Thanks so much.
Thank you, John.
And thank you for joining us for this edition of Capital Connections, your weekly access to politics and policy along the I-89 and I-91 corridors and how it impacts your life in our region. If you've got a comment or an idea for a future show, why don't you send me an email? But in the meantime, please join us again at this same time next week for another edition of Capital Connections.